Okay, let's see what we're working with here. It is absolute value and opposite integers. Code is ABP on your 8th grade IXL. What is the opposite of 1? So opposites, it's going to be the negative of the same number, right? If it's a negative, it's going to be the positive of the same number. So opposite of 1 is -1. Okay, opposite of that, if it's a negative, it has to be the positive of that. That's the opposite. Okay. Now, what is the absolute value of -7? In other words, what's the distance from -7 to 0 on the number line? It's 7 units. So absolute value is distance, and distance is always positive. There's no such thing as negative distance. If I said it took me 7 miles to get to school, it would be a positive 7 miles. And then if I said, "What's the distance from the school back to my house?" I wouldn't say I wouldn't walk backwards and say it's a -7, right? It's always positive 7. Distance is always positive. So what's the absolute value of 4? It's just 4, okay? What's the absolute value of -77? It's just 77 because -77 is 77 units away from 0. It's distance, and distance is always positive. Opposite is 5. Remember, opposite and absolute value are not the same thing. Okay. Absolute value is distance. Opposite is just where is it? What is the opposite of that on the number line? Absolute value of 7 is 7. Opposite of 0 is just 0. There's no such thing as -0. Opposite of 86 is -86. Opposite of -56 is +56. Opposite of 54 is -54. Okay, opposite of 85 is -85. Okay, so hopefully you see that opposites. So even though it seems like it, right? Like, what is the absolute value of -6? It's 6. It seems like it's an opposite, right? But if I say what's the absolute value of 6, it's not -6. Because remember, absolute value is distance. Distance is always positive. Okay. Absolute value of -809 is just 809, 809 units. Opposite of 0 is 0. That's the one they try to trick you with, right? Because there's no such thing as a -0. All right. What about this? It is 42. 42 units away from 0. Opposite of 83, though, is -83. Okay. And absolute value of -2. How far is -2 from 0? It is 2. Right. Now, what is absolute value of 1? It's 1. So don't say -1, remember, because it's not the opposite. It's the distance from 1 on the number line. It is 1, right? Okay, I think we can get to 100 easily on this, right? What's the opposite of 51? It's -51. What is the opposite of 42? It's -42. What is the opposite of -6? It's +6. What is the opposite of 0? Is always 0. Remember, negative, no -0. Absolute value of 2. How far is 2 from the number line? It's 2. So don't be one of those people that goes, "Oh, it's -2 because it's the opposite." No, absolute value and opposite are not the same thing. That's why they created this activity to try to trick you up on it. So what's the opposite of -15? It is +15. Okay, a couple more for that 100. So what is the absolute value of -452? It is 452 units. Okay, and opposite of -60 is +60. One more, well, opposite of +76 and -76, and there is our 100.